Hello, welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron, and the Lord just wants me to flow on this because this is something that I've been avoiding talking about because, for one thing, the Lord never really brought me here, but due to the fact that the Lord has kind of been dealing with me and talking about some of your God ordained spouses in relation to their pride, He brought me through it in relation to the movie Perfect Match. You can go back and look at the review I did on the Perfect Match. It's an 8-part review. But God has been dealing with their pride. I was just sitting here listening to Megan Michelle, love you, girl. But as I was sitting there listening to her, she was talking about what happens when two people that are supposed to be together come out of agreement. And she was saying something about what happens if the person cheats. And she was making the point of stating that the types of things, now this is with the counterfeit, but some people, and this is what it was, the Lord brought me back here for this. Your God ordained spouses at one point wanted what they saw in you to be in the person that they were with. God knew it was never going to happen. That's why God showed them you. But the reason He brought me back is He brought me back for, I always talk about my show. I always talk about the fact that main character, promise to God, angel, an angel. I always say that these two were ordained, the two ordained people to be together. But circumstances and repercussions always caused them to be drawn apart. Some of it was their own issues, and some of it was simple fear. Your God ordained spouse, and this can attest for the people that have been in relationships with these people before, they may have hurt you before. Something happened between these two that I never talk about. I love talking about their relationships, so on and so forth, but I never talk about the dark part. The reason that it brought the two of them to separate in the first place. And that was his evil side. God brought to my attention I'll say it was about 2 months ago in the dream that he was talking about stiff neck. It was like my God ordained spouse was dealing with a crook in his neck. And I was like, why has he got a crook in his neck? What does a crook in his neck mean? And then I was brought back to the scripture talking about having a stiff neck and operating in pride, right? Some of these men, they took so long because they didn't want to let go of the wrong one. Because they wanted that wrong one to have what you had. They were living in a desperate delusion that that person did have it. Y'all know how some of y'all was when it was the wrong person, but you desperately wanted it to be, because what it was is you wasted so much time with this particular person. You're like, I can't let go. Can't you just change them to be what? No. God's like, no. And the fact of the matter is that they couldn't change that person. God didn't want them to. God made sure of that because He knew that person was never going to change. He gave them the option, though. It's like, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to show you this person ain't never going to change. I'm going to show you who they are. I'm going to show you everything about this person, so on and so forth. You have to choose that I'm showing you what you need. You have to go to what you need. You can't stay with what you thought that you had. Now, getting back to the evil side and the pride. When it comes down to the pride that they carry, I never talk about the dark season part of the season with these two characters because it was hard to watch. When he turned on her, the way he turned on her, it was like he acted like she didn't exist. He turned on her right after they slept together. And it was a level of anguish that he put her through. And because of the type of show it wasn't just, oh, I'm hurting your feelings. The manifestation of him hurting her, it was like his intent in its entirety was, I'm going to make sure this hurt. He was known for it in his previous lifestyle, that he literally would twist. Think about Leviathan, the serpent. He turns words. He would use the truth, and this was what they said. He used the truth to spin a lie. This is what the devil does. And he was like a serpent. Your God ordained spouse, and I even mentioned this in one of the parts in the movie Inception when I did a review. The husband had taken the woman that he was with and he told her a lie that incepted her mind to make her believe, because he knew that she would believe him. Some of these men have had relationships, and I said this in that video, that they were in complete control of the situation. They knew what they were doing. It wasn't that the counterfeit was doing anything to them. They were fully aware of what they were doing, and they were fully aware they were twisting the minds, the thoughts, and all of this kind of stuff of that other person that made them be so, what's the word? Dig their nails in to hold on to them because of the fact that either they fully rejected or they created a lie that was such a good lie that when that lie took place, that they couldn't even see the truth. I remember years ago, I used to watch a show called Nikita, and they were spies, to the point that they had this thing where it was a statement that they did what they did so well that they could no longer tell the truth of reality from the lie that they were telling. And that's what your God ordained spouses have gone through in these previous relationships. They could no longer decipher the difference. God had to come in and show them the difference. God had to come in and rip the Band-Aid off. God had to come in and wake them out of their spiritual stupor. But in him waking them, it's like they had a pulse spiritually shake up their reality, where they saw shock waves in the things that they were used to. But when that shock wave came through, they would see reality behind it. Some of them chose to ignore it for a while. Some of them ignored it as long as they could until they were able to, visually present themselves the way that they needed to. And in that, they had to come to grips with themselves. And that's the other part of what's taken them so long, is they had to realize their part in the pain that they were doing and forgive themselves for what hurt they did to the other person and what they did to themselves. But they also had to come to the realization of the pride that would cause them to potentially hurt you. Because in that show he was so demonically possessed. And those of y'all that have dealt with people that have had spiritual spirits within them that was so, and it's the spirit of pride is what it was, that you can't even deal with them, because you got to pray just to make sure that thing backs up, because of the fact that this thing is out to kill you. It doesn't want to see you alive, and it comes just before your breakthrough to intimidate and dominate you. And that is what they were operating in. And a lot of us have not been able to ever see our God ordained spouses as a person that could ever do that to anyone, because the way God showed it to us, especially if our God ordained spouse, oh, we've seen him cry. Oh, we've seen him this. Oh, we've seen him. He's so kind. And God's like, don't be fooled by that. That man got a level of pride that you ain't seen yet. This is why I'm telling you to pray for his pride, because of the fact that if you saw how he acted behind the closed doors, you'd be like, oh, that spirit you've been trying to run away from or thinking that he don't got, oh, he got it. But would you like to see it in him? And that's what the Lord is showing in this. He was like, because the way that this guy turned on her, it's like, it was just sex. It was just this. It was just, why are you acting like such a baby about this? Why are you just this, that, and the other? And she was like, but I thought you loved me. I thought. And he said, I know you thought. And then he proceeded to try to kill her several times. And we can look at that as a spiritual thing. Some of us have been in relationships with men that have literally tried to spiritually destroy us. Lord sent these people into our lives in order to destroy us. But some of us don't think that our God ordained spouse could ever do that. Before they reached God, they did. And some of them did it so well that the air of godliness that they had in that time frame would make the person that they were with at the time think that they could never have done it. This is how prideful these people were. And a lot of us has been like, oh my God, there ain't no way. No, it is a way. And we've never seen it. And we didn't understand it. And God's been breaking them in that format to show them, hey, you can't do this to that person. He had to break them in a very specific way, mature them in a very specific way, because they would have broken you down. You've been broken before. They could break you down. And due to the fact that maybe their pride wanted somebody else, they could have destroyed you. And God said, don't you touch him. If you don't want it, leave it alone. But if you, and God already knew that I'm showing this to you, and right now you might want to destroy it. But I'm going to show you where the destruction needs to happen. And he showed them through the counterfeit where the destruction needed to happen, so that their pride was broken. But you didn't get to see that. But with that, it took a part of them that has made them feel like, I'm not worthy to be with her if I even was capable of doing that to another human being. How do I know that I won't do that again? Same for you. Some of you have been in relationships where, pay close attention, where you felt like the things that you did in your previous relationship, where you started to ignore your spouse, or, well, some of y'all it was your spouse, where you ignored the person that you were with at the time, and you felt like, oh my God, I was with this person and I wasn't even paying them enough attention. There's a line that I remember saying, and it haunts me sometimes. And this is the thing that I sit with the Lord and I pray about. And it was me saying, I'll get back to you when I'm ready. Some of them feel like, if I come to you, what's going to keep me from allowing my pride to come back in when we're in a disagreement when what have you happens, it's going to prevent me from turning on this person the way I turned on the others. Where in a moment of anger, or in the moment I can use my words like I did before and hurt this person. I don't want to risk that. And that's another reason why they've taken so long. But they know now I can't stall or hold out or keep holding out. I know I've had this problem. And some of y'all, especially those of y'all that you've been with this person before, they want you back, but you're too afraid that if you take them back, they're going to hurt you again. So you'd rather be like, I'm not ready yet. I remember I've seen this happen in my show, and then I was watching SVU the other day. And in SVU, it was a few weeks back, Elliot's character, who we know Elliot, everybody know Elliot and Olivia belong together, everybody. And it's like, even the people that work with them, they're like, so when you go hook up with Elliot? And she's like, I can't hook up with Elliot. And Elliot finally, they had gotten into a close, intimate moment, and he was about ready to kiss her. And she said, I'm not ready yet. Some of y'all have felt like you weren't ready yet for these relationships. And some of them have felt like they weren't ready because they're afraid they're going to hurt you. Because they're afraid that pride going to rise back up. Do you know you always have to come against pride? Everybody got pride, but we got pride in different ways. Some of us, because we've had lack of control in our lives, our pride rises up in the way that we organize things. So we got to keep everything in order. Everything must be in order. Everything must be straight. And God breaks us of that because he won't let things be in order to the degree that we want it to be, to the perfectionist quality that is of us desiring control. Because God's saying, hey, who's in control here, me or you? And he also wants to break that in, as I thank the Lord for Megan Michelle, because Megan Michelle be talking about, I'm not having this problem, and the Lord be breaking her and showing her, and you be like, hold up, let me check myself. Listen to her. I listen to her lives at times, and it's like, it makes you really think to yourself, hey, am I doing that? Is that why he's taking so long? It's beautiful, and it makes you really think. But some of these men have had this level of pride that they hurt the person. And in previous time frames, and they don't want to get to a point, and there may be points in time, I'm just going to be honest with you, there may be points in times where you're going to hit a brick wall between you and your God-ordained spouse in marriage, and that pride on you and the pride on him going to raise up. And it's going to be a season where the Lord's going to allow that to test you. Are you going to be willing to stand and walk through this? Because this is a testing season. And then on top of that, depending on your influence, you're going to still have to get on camera. You're going to still have to walk a red carpet. You're going to still have to go out there. You're going to still have to smile and act like everything's okay between y'all. Though when you get off of camera, y'all angry. He angry and you angry. It's not so much that you're angry at each other. It's just the fact that the situation that he dealing with, or the situation you're dealing with, you don't know how to get through to him because the pride within him won't allow him to allow you in, and vice versa. Your level of control, or needing to have control because you feel out of control in that moment, God's saying pay attention. That is preventing you from being able to really walk in the fullness of what God's trying to show you and do in this moment. And you're just like, but God, I thought we were good. God, I thought everything was okay. God, I thought it was all right. What do you mean? It's like, this wasn't never supposed to happen. But things and life events are going to happen. There's going to be births. There's going to be deaths. There's going to be fights. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be those moments. And Tyler Perry did a beautiful monologue in one of his films where he talks about, is in the film and is in the play, where he talks about you and your spouse are in that age range where you're seeing people die off, you're seeing people graduate, you're in that middle range space, and it's that element. You're seeing people get sick, you're seeing people, things like that, and the way that you manage your stress and not allow pride to set in your frustration, or brushing that thing off, or not being open and not allowing your feelings, because some of y'all need to hold on to your feelings for a period, and then God has to break you, and then you come back to your spouse and God's like, you're gonna have to be open. And some of y'all is gonna feel like you're not hearing God, because God's like, I need you to go to your spouse about this, because you need to open up to them. I want you to open up to me, but you're going to see relief when you open up to them. When you release that pride that's within you, then you're going to see the manifestation of what it was that I was trying to get out of you. But you're going to have to be big little people and confess, be humble, release that pride and talk to the other person. I know it's uncomfortable, but that's where you're going to take your power back. In being humble, in crying it out, because that's where God wants you. God wants you to be able to go to your spouse, and for them to be able to come to you. If they're hurt and they're crying, they're upset, they can come to you. And Samson, resting his head on Delilah's shoulder, except you're going to be their wife. They can release that pride and come to you in humility. So getting back to what I was saying about the level of pride, that guy, he turned on her so badly. His intent was to destroy her relationships. His intent, and he didn't do it directly. He wouldn't directly assault the people next to her. He would send psychological messages, mental warfare, emotional warfare, physical warfare, spiritual stuff, verbal accusations, messing with the people outside of your social circle, but just close enough to them to hurt you. That kind of psychological mess up. And you all understand, you know what spirit that is. That's Leviathan, which is attached to pride. All of that. And some of these things may rear their heads up at certain seasons in your marriage. Some people I've noticed, and they've said this, every 10-year season of a marriage or a relationship, or just 10 years, God will test you to a level and degree. You're like, wait, I thought we already went through this test. And God's like, no, we got to test you again, because you're entering a new season. And how you deal with those emotions. Some of these things we're not going to have seen our spouses go through certain levels. And when some of y'all going to see the way your God ordained spouse deals with their emotions, their mental warfare, how they deal with their physical body, how they deal with their spirit. Some of y'all going to see them on the deepest level you can see them. And you're going to have to be like, whoa. They're going to see, and I think I mentioned this in a video, but I didn't finish. You're going to see the dirt behind them. You're going to see their mess. You're going to see it. It's not going to be perfect over there. They have to be perfect for the camera, for whatever it is that they're doing. And you have to be a level of presentable for whatever it is that you're doing. But guess what? Your gas stank too. I remember I was watching something, somebody was talking about a celebrity, and they were vegan, and they said every time that person passed gas, their gas was horrible. It's like, yeah, some of they mess stink. And you got to be able to process through that. You can't run. That's where the five love languages, it's a book that talks about the five love languages, but when it's hard. I think it's called When It's Hard. It's somewhere in my let me see if I can visually pull it up. Give me 1 second.